I'm excited because this is my first collaboration here on Sony 365, and it's with the joint nicest person in the influencer industry. I think officially the top two nicest people in this industry are Michael Fisher and Gadgets Boy. And we've got one of them here today. It's Gadgets Boy. How you doing, Tommy?
How you doing? I'm good. It's good to see you, man. Thanks for having me on your platform. I'm a big fan.
It's an absolute honour because going back many years now, I know that you've been a big friend of the channel, helping out Basil and David and the guys that we've been working with here. So we kind of go back, although this is the first time we've done anything. So I've got some questions for you about the Xperia Pro.
That's right. Thanks for getting it sent out as well. I've got the Pro in my hand and I've actually used it for a few days. And I shot a briefing the other day, which I can't talk too much about, but I told myself to actually get used to it, to actually understand the product. I'm going to leave my Atomos Ninja 5 at home and just use this and see how I got on.
Nice one. I mean, I wanted to ask you to begin with, like, what do you actually think of the actual concept of the Xperia Pro?
I love the concept because for me as a filmmaker or photographer, my aim is always to try and pack as light as possible. And unfortunately with COVID and everything, but pre-COVID, especially when you travel abroad, you want to pack as compact as possible. And I think I like the idea of this one device that can do everything. So that's a phone, it's a field monitor, and it's super lightweight and robust as well. So I think I like the concept of it.
Yeah, I have to say, I'm not even remotely close to being pro enough to use the Xperia Pro, which is one of the reasons why I wanted to reach out to you. I think you are, as far as I can understand from Sony, you are in the target market here for this kind of phone, given that you are a professional content creator. I had a theory that the majority of buyers of this device would be television networks who want to cover live sport, where they know the 5G is going to be absolutely on point, and it means that these guys don't have to run around with huge backpacks with modems and decoders and all kinds of nonsense. But do you think that this is kind of overreach potentially for a content creator such as yourself, or is it still actually useful?
I think it's useful to a certain extent. I feel like it's missing some of the features that I find really useful when I'm using my Ninja Atomos 5. I keep referring to this because that's my field monitor that I'm using right now, that I've always used. I've got two of them for my second camera when I'm doing top-down views and stuff. I think it's missing a few features. For example, when you've got in field monitor mode, where you connect it to your camera via HDMI cable, before I even go into that, is missing a full HDMI port. I think a lot of content creators would agree with me that actually a mini HDMI port is not pro enough. That's one. I think secondly, once you get it in that field monitor mode, is missing features like focus peaking, zebra, false color, those things that you can normally do on the screen and see to make sure that you're actually recording what you need to do. It's got the double tap to zoom, which is somewhat useful, but I don't think it's useful enough. And it doesn't also fill that 21:9 aspect ratio that the phone's got, so it doesn't take advantage of that full landscape format that you've got, which I would have wished they took advantage of. And the only way to really see the settings and stuff like that is if when you're using a camera like the Sony A7S III, for example, that I use, you can show the actual content that you normally see on your display. You can actually see it on here. That's the only way around it, sort of. So you can still see like focus peaking and all that stuff, but it's not enough in that sense.
You see, that makes a lot of sense what you're saying. And of course, the other thing that's really pivotal here in the Xperia Pro is the whole 5G connection side of things. Now, the guys in the Sony 365 office in the UK, the ones that do a lot of filming with Sony 365 and other projects, they've been testing this out. In fact, here they are from the previous video we did on the Xperia Pro. We couldn't find anywhere with a decent 5G signal, like not even close. Now, you're up there in the big smoke, right, in London town, where the infrastructure is at least marginally better, I think. I mean, how good is 5G and reliable in your experience so far?
I think it depends how close you are to the masts and where you are in London at the moment. I think I'm lucky enough to be central enough to still get a good 5G signal. So I've been taking advantage of that. But I think for most people, it's the last thought in their thought process, because a lot of people just use devices like this as a field monitor. They just go to a location, and then do what they need to do. They don't think, oh, I'm going to use this for streaming. But where 5G really matters, though, when I thought about this, is if you were to capture content and you want to upload things and do things like FTP connectivity and which this is capable of, then 5G would really help in that sense. And if you're lucky to be where 5G really works, like London, then it's a big bonus. But for most people who doesn't live in major cities where 5G sort of works, then you're in trouble. It doesn't really matter for you.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. And in terms of, I think for me, one of the most unfortunate things here about the Xperia Pro, because I love the concept, I think the execution is great for I suppose a first attempt. Future generations, they're going to hopefully bring more to this, and I hope there will be future generations. But one of the most unfortunate things, and I suppose some people would say this is classic Sony, is that it was announced a long time ago now. I can't remember exactly when, so we're going to put it on the screen. And then it did come out, didn't it, in the USA and Japan. And then we had the Xperia 1 Mark III and 5 and 10 Mark IIIs launch. And then suddenly we find out in the UK that the Xperia Pro's here. So the problem is people, I suspect, are going to be weighing up, now, do I really need to spend the extra for the Xperia Pro? Or could I get away with using the Xperia 1 Mark III? I mean, it hasn't got, that HDMI connection or anything like that. Could that be feasible?
I mean, I've seen people talk about this already with devices that aren't even Sony's. Like, if you just get any Android device that's been around for a long time, you can connect HDMI dongles and all sorts to them, and you get the same connectivity. I think where this really takes, what edges them out, is that OLED display. Not many devices have that OLED display with good color accuracy and good contrast levels and stuff. So you get that on this in comparison to other devices that you might be able to do it with as well. Mm-hmm. But if we're going to be specific and go to Xperia 1 Mark III or whatever it is these days, then yeah, this is, I don't know what Sony's thinking. It's like you said, it's textbook Sony. Like, for example, the Sony A7S III came out, and then the FX3 came out later on. Whereas I think the FX3 should have been the one that came out and just scrapped the A7S III completely, because they're both the same device, essentially the same cameras, but you've had to get a cage for the A7S III to get the same sort of experience that's built into the FX3. So I don't know what Sony's thinking is when it comes to launching products like this.
It is strange, isn't it? I mean, you cover all kinds of brands, and not just obviously smartphones, but all kinds of gadgets. And I mean, I can't think of another company. I'm sure there are examples where they announce these devices so early, and then there are these kind of hideous gaps. Like even now, we don't know when the Xperia 1 Mark III will be coming. Well, to most of the world, it won't be coming to most of the world, but to the UK and USA and Europe and so on. But that's it's crazy, isn't it? I mean, I love Sony. That's why I'm doing what I'm doing, I suppose. But I think one of the many challenges with Sony is first to find out that a new product is launching, because the marketing is not, I suppose, what you'd call big league. And the second thing is, how do you get hold of these things? And I suppose the third thing is, are you prepared to wait as long as you need to wait between the announcement and getting hold of these things? But if you can do those things, then Sony could be for you, right?
Yeah, and if you can afford the price tag as well, £2,500 to buy one of these, that's the cost of buying a new lens, or I could go buy myself another Sony A7 III instead, and just tether my phone for live streaming and all that stuff. So I think I still can't justify the price tag for this just yet.
Right.
I think it's very niche. I think, like you said, you can't even get hold of it, and then it doesn't really replace some of the things that I would use a field monitor for, even down to audio monitoring. Like, I can't see the audio levels on this screen when I'm trying to film. Those are important things that makes it a pro device and a field monitor that I don't even class myself really as a pro filmmaker. I know how to work my camera. But if at my level I'm talking about these things, then I wonder what broadcast level filmmakers would be saying with this.
Yeah, I'm ever so glad you mentioned that. It sounds to me then like Sony is onto something here, but in order for them to really make the kind of progress they want to make, it seems like it needs to get a lot closer to the 1 Mark III in terms of price. And if it's just that improved quad antenna 5G architecture there at the back and the polycarbonate back to improve reception, plus, of course, HDMI connection, as you say, if they can make better use of that screen real estate there by adding more features that pros are going to really benefit from, then it sounds like Sony could really nail it with this.
Absolutely, and I think the best way to do that is if Sony just speak to the ambassadors. They have loads of filmmaker ambassadors. Just speak to them, ask them, what can we do to make this work for you? And then if those guys tell them a plethora of features they want to add to this, then bring it out on the next one, and I'll be the first to buy one. I'll sell the two of my Ninja Vs, Ninja 5s. I'll sell my A7S III and pay £2,500 for this if they add all those things that makes it work. Because it felt so good just putting this in my pocket and turning up to my briefing with just a camera in my bag.
Yeah.
So I was like, that's amazing. I can actually do that.
Yeah, it's getting close, isn't it? I think it's a great first attempt. What I'm going to do is I will put this is available exclusively through Wex at the moment. Here's the price that they're launching with, and they're throwing in all of these things free, and that's a good little bundle there for anyone who is tempted to give this a go. It's certainly unique, and I don't know, in some ways it sort of reminds me of, the guys, with their really impressive and super expensive, I expect, divers watches that they can go to 300 meters and they've got the releasable helium valves and all that kind of stuff. Now, technically, you don't need that in the pub, but it's pretty cool. This could fall into that bracket as well, couldn't it? That's pushing
a good analogy there. Yeah. No, that's a good way to look at it. I think in the same way, there's a lot of people that buy Sony A7S III, but they don't even shoot S-Log.
Right.
So you go, why have you bought the camera? You could just buy yourself a point to shoot otherwise. But I think, it goes around in circles.
It's pretty cool. I mean, I have to say, I love the fact that Sony's pushing the boundaries here and trying to give us a different way of looking at what smartphones are capable of doing. And it seems like, from everything you've said, Sony's very close to nailing this. And I suspect that, I almost feel like they should just forget the, when the Xperia 1 Mark III comes out, forget the Xperia Pro. But when the Xperia 1 Mark IV comes out, bring out the Pro version at the same time. Don't do the launch event until you're ready to do pre-sales. And then they could really use that time to kind of come up with a package that, as you say, could really nail it.
Exactly, and also take that time to actually get the latest processor chip in there as well, because 865 is now almost behind. Although, don't get me wrong, it's a great processor chip in its own right. Like, we don't have to worry about it. But when you consider the money you pay in and then compare it to the competitors on the market, you want to go, well, if I'm paying $2,500, I need to have the latest of everything in there.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. So I'm going to say, first of all, thank you so much for joining us. I really want to do some collabs with you in the future. I don't know if you saw the video where we first met Klim over at ERP in Russia, but that led to me agreeing to do, and I hadn't had any vodka or anything, I just instinctively agreed to go to Russia and do a collaboration with him. But next time I'm in London, it would be great to do something with you as well. Thank you so much for joining us.
I'll be up for that.
Fantastic. I'm going to say
thank you
to everyone who's watched this, please do follow Tommy. Here's all the social media stuff, and of course do follow him on YouTube. Actually, cars are a big thing for you now as well, aren't they, for all the petrol heads out there?
Yeah. Petrol heads and people that are still deciding whether they want electric vehicles. That's all stuff that I talk about.
Yeah, okay, fantastic. Cheers, Tommy. It's been an absolute pleasure. Looking forward to seeing you soon. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
So there we have it. Some really useful, honest feedback there from Tommy, who's used the device and really got into it. I think he's absolutely right in his summary there. I really want to do more videos with him. He's a cool guy. Make sure you follow him and give him lots of support. It's been a pleasure. I'll see you guys next time.